Hello, Hare Krishna. My name is Jvalamukhi Dasi, and this is video number 19 in the series The J Files of my video blog, my book called My Hoo-Hoo and the Destiny of the Universe, the Golden Age, the Great Sinister Movement, and the Firewalk of a Hare Krishna Kid. So I recorded a brief introduction in the previous video, number 18, of what is satanic ritual abuse. And my notes say here, end with a prayer to address lifting the ignorance of all parties. So I will formulate one right here, right now. My dear Lord, I pray from the core of my being, just like Prahlad Maharaj did. Svasti astu vishwasya kala prasidatam dhyayanti bhutani shivam mitodya manascha vadram bhajata dadokshajeya veshatam no madhyarapyahaituki. And the gist of that is, may there be auspiciousness and good hope for everyone, and may everyone become enlivened by becoming Krishna conscious, because in this way they will be able to think of the welfare of all other living entities. And I wish I had that translation completely memorized, but essentially Prahlad Maharaj didn't distinguish in his well wishes and his prayers between his demon father who tried to kill him and all of the other souls on this planet. So my desire and my prayer is that through the prayers of those who are saintly, that we can extend that in our lives to those who are completely lost in the darkest of ignorance. People who are utterly lost to themselves, who hate themselves, engage in satanic ritual abuse. It is multi-generational. It is almost impossible to get out of without extreme endeavor and without the Lord's unimaginable good grace. One doesn't get out alone. So I invite everyone to please pray on the behalf of the perpetrators of such, that they can come to their accountability, because true compassion isn't sentimental. True compassion means to speak the truth for the sake of the liberation of the soul, the freedom of that soul. And someone who is committing extremely heinous criminal activity is not their own well-wisher, because the result of such activity is countless births in the hellish regions. The greatest suffering is due them. They will be put in very low bodies for who knows how long because of their offenses, and their only hope are your prayers. So we pray at the lotus feet of the Lord that all of those who have forgotten themselves, that they be able to feel the Lord's love for them. No matter what you've done, Krishna sees you as you are, the eternal spirit soul, and you're in a dreaming condition. And all of those things in this dreaming condition are real, but they're temporary. The reality is to wake up, recognize yourself as you are, the eternal part and parcel of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna, and again, engage in their loving service with one another. So this is an open invitation for everyone, on whichever side you may stand, to accept the invitation of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu sincerely and stop being a hypocrite, both in denial that these things happen or in trying to cover them up in any way. Our acharyas were uncompromising. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was the lion guru, the Simha guru. Anytime there was a false philosophy or a cheater, he never hesitated to expose them. Why? Not out of envy, but out of compassion. And that is my purpose in making these videos, is to expose the truth of what happened in Srila Prabhupada's name, so that people will be able to separate the nectar from the poison and to continue the Lord Chaitanya's movement with great enthusiasm, and to invite them back to a safe place. We have begun an online temple, essentially, with purelyprabhupada.com.org, And we will be having more videos up shortly in that regard. But that is our attempt, and we encourage you in your own. Thank you. Continuing with my journal. I have been praying, whatever obstacles need to be removed so that I can be of empowered service to Srila Prabhupada, please let that be so. If I need to become aware of something to release it, let that be so. If I am able to release it without having to see it, let that be so. Yesterday was one of my lighter sessions, although what came out of it, the memories were quite awful. But the letting go of them and the fear was much less. Through it all, my heart has been really protected. I am very grateful and humbled by Krishna's dealings with me. By his unlimited mercy and Kamra Prabhu's experience, 2 subtle witchy entities that I sensed had been in our family for hundreds of years were released without much drama. They were free to be free too, of us too. They ascended upwards. Everyone wins in devotional service, even the ghosts and hobgoblins. The memories rolled off my tongue like a report, mostly unemotional and at times intensely emotional. I was told when I was a child that if I ever told anyone, I would be killed. They would kill someone close to me, they said, and their threats were not idle. I was very adamant about protecting my siblings from them, but I was helpless, lying there strapped to a table and seeing how so-and-so was teaching so-and-so how to do it to her. I raged. I raged then on Kamra's table. I raged and I raged and I raged. I bolted up, my fists clenched with the knives I wanted to sink into them. With all of the power those dark witches had given to me, I wanted to kill them. They wanted to summon demons. Well then, Ali Ali Oxenfree, come into me. I will kill you, I've said over and over. But I could not. I was helpless. I hated them so much. I wanted to bleed to death so that they would understand how hurt I was. Desire is a powerful thing. It is not the only function of this. It is the only function of the spirit soul to desire. We are creators. I exploded from the inside. My appendix ruptured. I was 14 years old. I wanted to die. I did not want to recover. It was then I was more aware of the involvement of our pediatrician, Dr. Torty. I wanted to know about my younger brother, my little Radhamadava. The knowingness emerged with the smiling memory of his feisty little self. I laughed as I told Kamra how he would help them. I laughed as I told Kamra how he would keep them away by passing in his pants and being utterly obnoxious sometimes. He was always inventing something which now I see was his way of solving the horrible situation we were all in. He would share them with me very passionately back then. I remember him with his crayon drawings on crumpled lined paper, the fringes sticking out. He would explain fervently his drawings and his plans. His tongue stuck out of the space in the front where he'd knocked out his front teeth. I just wanted to pick him up, cradle him, and run away from all that was. My consciousness turned towards my mother. This next part is hard for me to say, so I'm going to preface it with, in the healing path, you have to take turns wearing different hats. You can't always be the wise spirit soul observer and be able to move out all of the stuck hell inside. You have to switch roles and be in charge of that process so that your inner child parts don't take you over and run the show. Just like when you're driving a vehicle, you don't give the wheel to your 2-year-old. But when you have it in park or the keys are out of the ignition, you can let them take the wheel so they can feel like they're driving. So in the same way, you have to keep your witness, but you have to allow the inner children to speak their truths so that they can finally voice them. because all this time they've been stifled. They're not allowed to speak. And what that does to the subconscious is it stymies the emotional body and it creates physical illness in the gross body. So with self-control, you go into the child part and just give them a voice and let them say what they need to say, and then you take it from there and work it out. So as I was giving my inner child the stage, so to speak, to find out what was hiding inside, this is what she said. Poor stupid woman, drugged out, drugged up hippie, surrounding herself with clutter and garbage so she doesn't have to see. Foolish, stupid woman. She was so naive and trusting, she would have believed anything. This was my teenage self speaking. I did not censor her. She had a right to her feelings. For the record, I believe my mother is one of the bravest and strongest women I know. Not at all stupid. However, at the time, my hurt child self felt that way. Now as an adult and having gone through the healing process, I see what an amazing soul she is. She raised us in hell in her severely disassociated way, an unwitting host to many evil forces, and every bit as much of a victim as we were. The only difference was in our age and size. Through it all, she even managed to attract our hearts to Lord Krishna and Srila Prabhupada through her songs, which were her only real getaway. No wonder they were sung with such feeling. If you can't offer practical protection, at least you can talk about salvation and sing your heart out. Yeah, things were pretty messed up. Here comes another gut-tormenting part. Then, as if I were watching a movie, I saw it. A cousin's childhood friend who had been part of the group. He was also abused in the same way growing up by one of my extended family members. When he was going to, quote, tell, he was given a choice, poison or a bullet. He was in high school at the time. They made his death look like a motorcycle accident. He had threatened that if he told, they would he had been threatened that if he told, they would kill his family, especially his mom, who he loved. He was very brave. He sacrificed himself instead. As I saw this, my heart was aching and aching. I saw his beautiful body go limp. And then he went home. His mother was crying and crying, but she could not see him, though he could see her. They murdered him. My cousin was very confused and sad as well, but now he was in with the big guys. I'm just going to take an aside there. It's very, very important in satanic ritual abuse that you learn how to so-called sacrifice that which is dearest to you, which includes your best friends, your children, your spouse, your dog, your cat, anything that is dear to your heart. They consider it to be an act of enlightenment if you can sacrifice them for the greater good. And even if they have a so-called disposable person, a human trafficked person that they bring in for one of the killings, they make sure that you get close to them before they make you kill them or participate in their murder in some way. Betrayal is very, very important in Satanism, where you have to show your loyalty by betraying everything else and everyone else. So in this case, one of my cousins had to betray his best friend and kill him. So he was involved in that. I cried for that boy. He's waited all this time. He's been around me as one of my guardians until I was ready to hear the truth. Kamra asked him to go and move forward. He said he would leave when I told his mother what had happened. I intended to at the right time. The session came to a close with the conversation of the insidiousness of this incest, ritual abuse energy that Kamra saw, not only plaguing our family generationally, but circling the globe. She understood that it was so powerful, not just an entity, but Kali himself. She said that this energy was to be released and was not for a family of Vaishnavas. It could go wherever else, but not here. She said that at the rate that I was moving through this, a million miles an hour, Krishna must have some service in store that I would be useful for, that I would be used for. My heart glories in the thought. Let the demons throw up their hands in fear, then throw them up in the ecstasy of Harinam. In that space of knowingness, I said, that dark evil vapor will vanish like the fog at the onset of the dawn. In my heart there burns a hot coal to set this world alight with the power of Harinam. Even as it burns, it gives pleasure to my heart. When will this come to pass? I see myself, I explained to her, still from that alpha space. Roaring from the stage, the crowd roars back the holy names. The fangs I feel in my roaring mouth are not those of the gargoyles I have felt, but of the divine lion, Lord Nrsingadev. My son roars as well from the stage with his electric guitar, I see. We roar, and the darkness flees. It does not stand a chance against the power of Sri Hari. And my little angels are awake again. So, again, another short video. Thank you for your attention. Hare Krishna. To be continued.